Type Soul feels like one of those games that was like majorly overhyped. And before you fled the comments and saying, Nate, it was meant to be CC, nothing much changed between now and release. And if you don't believe me, look at the update logs yourself. In reality, Type Soul is worse than probably a Bandit Beater, and that's like a lot to say. It's like if Deep Woken wasn't permadeath and all you did was spam the same quest over and over for no reward. Now, don't get me wrong, Type Soul is like an absolutely beautiful game with like amazing PvP and like amazing graphics, as well as, you know, some beautiful Shikai's, Bonkai's, and like diversity in gameplay. But it's at that point where once you get your Shikai Resurrection Volt standing, you're already at the end of the game, and in reality, it leaves the player with no sense of direction. I mean, you could do raids, become a Wizard, become a Vastakar, etc., still Bonkais, do literally, you know, whatever. But, you know, after that, what else? There's no actual content that keeps the game alive. You can kill random players, but even then, that just gets boring after a while. I feel like, you know, the testers tested the game, but they weren't actual testers. I feel like they mainly just sat there screwing around with everything, but they never actually tested everything. I feel like they just mainly sat there and they just played with everything, but they never actually reported anything or did anything, because when the game released, it had a couple major game-breaking bugs, and those were things that, like, testers should have reported, and the testers didn't actually report that, and that's something that you know, a lot of games suffer with, because they do this whole closed community thing, because, you know, they get a whole bunch of these testers. Instead of testing, they play the game. Instead of doing testing sessions, they just play the actual game itself, because the developers would rather they play the game than actually test the game. And I feel like it was just, you know, overhyped like every other game. And in reality, it just turned into a quest simulator. You just do quests over and over. And then once you rank up, you just go on like a 6-hour cooldown. You have nothing to do. And the thing is like, even, you know, like when you rank up, you go on like a 1 hour to 6 hour cooldown, which is insane. That's an insane cooldown. And then after that, so, you know, you have no content anymore. You can't do any more quests because, you know, you're on that cooldown, and then you know, after all that, you go to do something else, you know, say earn your Shikai. If you die, you go on a 3-hour cooldown. Now, you can skip the cooldown by killing 3 opposing faction members, but, you know, once again, the opposing faction members are pretty busted. That being, you know, 3, you know, the Arankars having Hero and Quincy's having Bloodvein, which just gives them complete immortality. And it's insanely broken for no reason at all. I don't understand. And that to me is just, I don't personally like it. It's broken. I feel like, you know, there should be cooldown, but 3 hours is a long time, especially if you just ranked up and you can't really do much. So, you know, you're just stuck, you know, doing nothing that entire time. And like I said, you can kill random players or do a raid, but once again, that just gets boring, and you know, it just affects you in the long run. If you do attempt to get your Shikai, that just makes the fight harder. Or, you know, if you are struggling to get your Shikai, You know, it just makes it more annoying the fact that you die and you get your 3 hours. Now, before you comment, oh, he's just mad because he can't get his Shikai. I already got my Shikai. I got it first try, but I'm saying I think the Shikai Resurrection Bolt Standing, I think it's ridiculous that you get it at the end of the game, and it has, nearly because the original cooldown was 6 hours. 6. And I think that is insane because, once again, you're on that cooldown from ranking up, and you're on that cooldown from losing to your Shikai Resurrection or Volt Standing. And that's just insane. That's an insane amount of time to be waiting. And you just have nothing to do in that period of time. So, I mean, you might as well just, get off the game entirely. You might as well just stop playing. And so, I mean, these are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Am I being too hypocritical? Let me know down below in the comments.